We were walking down the street the other day in West Hollywood. We went to Kayla wanted to go to Sir, which is this restaurant, which is the subject of the show Vanderpump Rules on Bravo.
Ooh, fascinating.
And we're walking around town because we were like a little bit early, and we were kind of concerned we weren't dressed nicely enough because I did offer to show cleavage, but they didn't go for that. And these girls were standing outside of this really fancy looking place, like talking with each other, and they're like, yeah, and we're going to go on like this fall hike. It's going to be great. And as we walked by, I just mumbled under my breath, sorry, I couldn't understand you with the silver spoon hanging in your mouth. And Kayla goes, oh. And right as we did that, we walked by a store, and on the front of the building, it said The Shade Factory. I'm like, oh, I'm going to step in here for a few more insults. That was kind of a perfect series of events.
That's well done.
But in West Hollywood, that's kind of what I expected to encounter.
A wee-ho?
Wee-ho.
Wee-ho.
Welcome to Namely 90s. Wow. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram or Bluesky at Namely90s. You can also find the show on YouTube every Monday at youtube.com/@namely90s. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, and get signed up for one of our support levels so you can pay for trips like this or in-person recordings.
I'm just like slightly concerned because I see that your audio levels are hitting at like 30 on mine somehow. But
noise gate.
Yeah.
Watergate.
Well, I mean, if the noise gate's too low, you won't hear when I like say something under my breath. But who knows how this turns out? Yeah, we're recording in the same room for the second time ever.
Yeah, we did an episode maybe 2021.
Yeah. 2021, and it's weird. You're like, well, also the way I have it positioned here, like you're over there, I'm over here. Hopefully, like we're not being picked up too much by each other's microphones because they are pretty much directional. But like I'm facing the opposite way that I normally do when I record. Andrew's, I should have put your camera a little bit closer, like in this
noise
line.
To sort of like block the sound a little bit,
or just to be like so that we can like have a conversation.
Yeah, but with podcasts now that are on like TikTok and stuff, you don't look at the camera. You look away.
We look at each other.
At each other, and the camera picks up. But you sit on the couch holding a lapel mic in your hand, and
which we could have done. We could have done. It's just I actually have the wireless lapel technology.
It's actually called a small hand cable mic that you. It's actually, that's how it's intended, is to be held.
Yes. Well, so I do have an XLR lapel, which we would have used had you not brought your microphone. But also I recently got the Rode wireless Miis. And they're okay. Direct plea to the audience. Those are not meant to be held and put up to your mouth, even though there is a microphone on both of them. Those are a wireless transmitter and receiver. There is a plug-in for the lapel mic that for a like 3.5 millimeter.
Yeah,
I was gonna say inch. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. That you're supposed to attach a lapel to. The other one, the fact that they have microphones on there, like, yes, you can do that, but it's supposed to be like under your shirt, like a lapel mic.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, it's because there's just general idiots making content.
Well, it's Rode, and it's a really nice microphone. Like,
sure.
I honestly we had them. I think we probably could have recorded with them.
Yeah, but as soon as you take a good microphone that's intended to be clipped to your lapel and hold it in your GD hand the whole time, you just look like a total tool.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to deny that. People do absolutely look like tools doing that. I also didn't start a timer, but
I'm just gonna now just for the ambiance, I'm gonna hold it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we're here. We flew down. Well, I flew down from Seattle, and overall, it was a pretty uneventful trip, except when we got in the plane and we began taxiing, and we turned the wrong direction to taxi to the end of the runway, and I was like, that's suspicious. And then they said, well, we pulled over to the side because we have a minor maintenance issue, which we're trying to resolve.
Ooh.
As we said, we're going to wait for maintenance to resolve the issue and then wait for some paperwork. It'll take about 20 minutes. Well, 2 hours later, they were like, we've resolved the maintenance issue. The good news is we've resolved the maintenance issue and we received the paperwork. But the bad news is we're going to have to fly at a lower altitude, so we need to go back to the gate for more fuel. I feel like, first of all, I want more information than a minor maintenance issue, because I'm like, first of all, I'll be the judge of what's minor. Second of all, if it's affecting pressurization, I think that'd be the worst case scenario for a passenger who's concerned.
Yes.
Like, there's a giant hole in the plane. We're going to put them caulking on that and see what happens. But then we flew at 33 instead of 37,000 feet, which I feel is like not that different.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, we were on the plane for about an hour and a half before we actually left the ground.
How long did the flight take then? From
2 hours.
From SeaTac to what, John Wayne?
Yeah, John Wayne, 2 hours, 20 minutes, something like that. The flight actually seemed short after that huge wait time.
That's not as long as, that's about the same amount of time it does take to fly from SeaTac to John Wayne.
Really? Yeah. That was fine, but it was 2.5 hours after we got in the air.
Right.
So we were almost on the ground as long as it took to fly to our destination.
Unfortunate.
I just wanted to know what that maintenance issue was. But it's fine. We were flying in a French plane built in Alabama.
Yeah.
Designed by the Canadians.
Also, why?
I was not making any of that up, by the way.
Why are they not why is your plane not filled with fuel? So with airplanes, what they do is they fill them just enough plus a little extra to get there. Uh-huh.
Because it reduces the takeoff weight and reduces wear and tear on the engines.
Fair, but what if there's an emergency and you have to
They put some reserve fuel. Yeah, you always take reserve fuel with you, but otherwise you base it on your altitude, the weather, the number of passengers and cargo you're carrying, and it calculates somehow. And then
he plays Flight Simulator. If you didn't know,
it's called your reserve fuel and your main fuel, I believe.
And why would flying at a lower altitude? This is something
higher air pressure.
True.
Weren't you in aerospace engineering school?
I was on the space side.
Okay. Yeah, there's no air resistance in space.
Yeah. Well, there's, depending on how far up you are, there's some drag, but
the dorkiest thing, by the way, is we were driving up past Vandenberg and now it says Vandenberg and they put a placard up over it. So now it says Vandenberg SFB instead of AFB.
It is an SFB.
But you think about the term Space Force, and A, it just doesn't even sound real, and B, it just sounds stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have no...
But the space shuttle can land there.
Can it?
Yeah, it's one of the...
it has before, yeah.
I think it's the longest military runway in the U.S. I believe it's 16,000 feet long.
Yeah, it's less optimal for re-entry, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they use it very often, but technically it can land there.
I think it has before. Not from re-entry, but I think it
that'd be quite the endeavor.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
apparently
a very explosive pun.
Apparently the Endeavor didn't blow up.
I was thinking Challenger.
The Endeavor apparently is in LA right now, near USC, and they propped it up. Apparently you're supposed to go see it. It's in the upright position because of some complicated reason I don't fully understand.
I thought they were all decommissioned, so they should be able to be in whatever.
I don't know.
Alignment.
You're listening to Namely Aircraft and Spacecraft.
Yep.
How did we get onto that? I think I started talking about Vandenberg.
Well, you were talking about flying down here.
Right.
Which you did, and it took a while.
We're going to tighten down anywhere from 28 to 37 bolts before we take off. You guys can just sit tight. That'd be great. But yeah, it's the plane. It was an A220, which was developed by Bombardier in Canada and then sold to Airbus in France for $1. And they now assemble them for the domestic fleet in Alabama. So I don't know how that makes it better than a Boeing plane, but
somehow Airbus has come out of the Boeing scandal unscathed. I would assume By not being Boeing?
Yeah, but a company that calls their product and names it after a bus. Like the bus is the least desirable mode of transport.
The French.
You can imagine. Yeah, true.
Although I guess they did design the Concorde, which
blew up a few times. Yeah.
Did it blow up? I thought the reason we don't have it is because of supersonic flight limits over the US.
No, they crashed a bunch and they decommissioned them.
Oh.
Actually, they crashed like once or twice, but there was some reason why they decommissioned it. I think it was just like hopelessly financially impractical.
Oh, it was financially impractical because the US was like, you know how everyone's on about, William Randolph Hearst is the reason why weed is illegal because it's a cheaper alternative to most paper or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's another one of those, like, the US made some dumb law to make sure that the Concorde wouldn't be purchased and used commercially because it's faster than US made planes. And because Boeing didn't have supersonics for customer transport, so it's just like that. From my understanding, that was why we didn't adopt it, is because of the sonic booms are too noisy for flying over the country.
So now we don't have supersonic air travel, and now we have a bunch of like pothead heshers going around.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's still, who does do sonic booms randomly and wherever they feel like it? The US military.
Yeah, absolutely. I was driving down the I-90 to the Columbia River, and I just heard the loudest noise. And I look up, and a fighter jet flew like 10 feet above me. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Apparently there is a 2010 comedy called Hesher starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Rainn Wilson, Natalie Portman, and Piper Laurie.
That sounds like something I would have watched.
Yeah. Strange.
Never heard of it.
And Devin Brochu, I don't know what that is. But Dwight was in it, so.
And Natalie Portman and JGL and
JG Wentworth.
877 cash now.
Let's see what else.
I think we filled.
Yeah, we've filled the gap. No, it's easy to start bantering more in person, I suppose.
It is, when because I can react off of you faster instead of having to delay and then be like, ha. That's why I don't laugh most of the time.
Yeah. Really quick. We did go to the Ronald Reagan Richard Nixon National Library, or Presidential Library. And that was quite interesting. I recommend it. It's in Yorba Linda, which is in Orange County. And it was good. I took a picture of something, which I have on my phone here,
which we can put up in the edit, because
I want to read.
Not that we have a really quick turnaround time on this episode, and I'm going to be hanging out with you guys most of the time.
I just need to read this placard.
Okay.
After months of intense campaigning in every one of the 50 states, Nixon lost to Kennedy by just 112,803 votes out of nearly 69 million cast, one of the narrowest margins in presidential election history.
I thought it was only 11,000.
No, 112. I trust the museum.
Fair. Instead of some rando on Wiki.
But this is like the first time when he lost to Kennedy, right? So, and then this is what it says. Kennedy's victory was razor thin, and there were documented reports of election fraud in Illinois and Texas.
Yep.
Many of Nixon's supporters, including President Eisenhower himself, urged him to challenge the results and demand a recount.
Yep.
But Nixon refused.
Yep.
A recount would have taken at least several months, and he felt that the country couldn't risk having an uncertain presidential election for that long.
Yep.
And he said, I could think of no worse example for nations abroad who for the first time were trying to put free electoral procedures into effect than that of the United States wrangling over the results of our presidential election.
Yep.
And so even though he got in trouble for that whole Watergate thing, which he didn't really even need to do, that still, to me, is a person of character.
And that's why he got pardoned for it.
Indeed.
Whereas, say, a current...
Hypothetically, if there
was a former current president or a former president that, tried to steal the election and then...
And then gaslit us into us stealing it, saying that we stole it.
Yep.
Yeah. Stop the steal. Stop the rape. Sorry, trigger warning.
Again, you can't do that after the fact.
Anyway, true.
Speaking of...
He started it, to be fair.
Most are triggered by... I mean,
Donald Trump started it.
Yeah.
He's the one who did the bad thing. I just talked about it.
I thought you meant he started the R word, and then I was like, yes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the youth of a nation. We are.
The youth in Asia. That's an inside joke.
Is it an inside joke? I've said it on the pod before.
Oh, have you?
I think that's
just
how
for
you
those
know.
who don't remember, the time that Brandon had to do a debate topic on euthanasia, and he thought it was about youth in Asia.
Yeah, she kept saying youth in Asia, and I was like,
they learn to speak and say the word.
I was like, yeah, I'll do. That sounds interesting to me. I'm half Asian. I don't know much about my culture.
All right, well, that's gone right off the rails. Should we move into the episode?
Yeah. Speaking of, out this Friday, we haven't seen Twisters yet. That came out last Friday. But Deadpool and Wolverine, the third Deadpool movie, it's the only Marvel movie of the year, is coming out. Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine. It's supposed to be... People are saying it's going to be good. I'm slightly worried. I think it'll be fun for sure. I've enjoyed the Deadpool movies. Ryan Reynolds is pretty good.
Yeah, fun and good are different things, but sometimes things
Sure.
are meant to be fun and not necessarily good.
Yeah,
specifically,
it's a summer blockbuster,
and I think you can overcome badness with entertainingness sometimes.
Absolutely. And
I mean, most people who try fail, but in this case, they might be successful.
I mean, if you bring back Hugh Jackman and it's him and Ryan Reynolds just like riffing, like they're friends in real life. It's a good they riff off of each other. They it'll be. I think it'll be good. But I thought we should do the SEO thing and talk about Deadpool, who is a character that was created in the 90s. First appearing in New Mutants number 98. He was created by Fabian and Rob Liefeld, the one that people mostly know him for. And he's the alter ego of Wade Wilson, who is a disfigured Canadian mercenary with a superhuman regenerative healing abilities like Wolverine. He is known for his tendency to joke incessantly and break the fourth wall for humorous effect. And then in 2004, in the Cable and Deadpool comics, he referred to his own scarred appearance as, quote, Ryan Reynolds crossed with a Shar-Pei, which I believe is a dog of some sort.
Yeah, I think it's a Chinese breed. It's got all those folds in it.
That makes sense because he's hideously disfigured under his mask. But yeah, you may know Deadpool from his appearance in the terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine from 2009, Deadpool 2016, and its sequel Deadpool 2 in 2018. And yeah, Andrew, do you know what a Deadpool is?
No, but I was thinking he probably should have done a promotion with his cell phone company when he owned Boost Mobile. Like, he plays a version of Deadpool called Dead Zone, and he tries to eradicate cellular dead zone. Okay, even I've lost interest in this advertising idea.
Yeah, well, you said Dead Zone, and I immediately thought of Anthony Michael Hall in the Stephen King series on USA. That they also made a movie with Christopher Walken.
Deadpool. No, I don't know what that means. I can make some guesses, but.
Well, I just meant, do you know of Deadpool, the character? Have you seen Deadpool?
Yeah, I think I recall being immediately turned off to the movies because of the whole shtick of being sort of sassy and whatever. And it just felt
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched 5 minutes of it. And I just wanted to leave.
Superhero movies aren't really your go-to, right?
No, not at all.
Did you watch any of the X-Men movies growing up? The first one came out in 2000?
No. I think my brother watched some of them. Did you remember seeing some portion of one where it's I think Mystique was in it and Patrick Stewart as Professor
X.
Xavier?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the extent. And I guess I remember like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. That's still something I remember, but I didn't watch any of these in their entirety.
Rebecca Romaine was Mystique in the first 3, I guess, and she actually had to wear like the body paint skin.
She was later replaced by Rebecca Iceberg. That's a lettuce joke, folks.
In real life, she was replaced by popular actress. Nope.
Describe more.
Blonde.
Charlize Theron.
No, younger. Like Fault in Our Stars. No, that's Shailene Woodley. Popular with the young man, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, she
volunteered as tribute.
Yes. In the later movies where they go back to the 60s for the younger kids, or the younger version of the characters, she's Mystique. And also apparently hated playing her because of the blue outfit.
I would guess so. So that's how it feels to be in Blue Man Group.
Yes, I just blew myself. Sorry, It's a great Arrested Development joke.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
He hasn't seen Arrested Development either. So you didn't watch. What about like in the 90s? There was the Batmans, and there was. I know you saw the Dark Knight trilogy, or not?
Not the whole trilogy. I've seen literally the Dark Knight.
Yeah. You didn't see Rises? I thought we saw Rises.
We saw the second one.
Yeah, we saw the second one, but who did I see the third one with?
But now that I know they're Christopher Nolan movies, maybe I'll watch them because I seem to like some of his movies, but some of them are too much.
You watched the best one.
Yeah, true.
But Liam Neeson's is in the first one. So
what were those guys, those blowhards saying down in Phoenix? Oh, you weren't there. They were talking about that magician movie he does.
Catch Me If You Can.
No, he doesn't do that. It's like The Illusionist or something. No, which one did he do?
Oh, it's either The Illusionist or The Greatest Showman.
What was?
It's not The Greatest Showman. No, The Mystique.
It was so.
The Mystique.
No, it's something. Yeah,
Dunkirk. The Prestige.
For The Prestige, which is not a magic movie.
No, it's because it's Christian Bale, right?
But these blowhards at like a frozen yogurt place were talking about how good The Prestige was.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that story on the pod before.
Like a bunch of like dudes in their 20s with like thin facial hair talking about Christopher Nolan flicks. That's just not a good look. Sorry. You
should see what Christian Bale's look is in The Prestige, and then see if they also have the same facial hair, because there's one photo with facial hair that looks like the kind of person.
Kind of.
Hugh Jackman is in it as well.
Interesting. And Michael Caine, Scarlett Johansson, Piper Perabo.
Isn't that interesting how like
David Bowie,
Christian Bale and Michael Caine went on to do the Batman.
Yeah, period thriller set in Edwardian London were two rival magicians, partners until the tragic feud bitterly about teleportation.
So they're magicians, but from what I remember, I don't think I've seen it all the way through. But Christian Bale, spoilers. Christian Bale, like Hugh Jackman's trying to like figure out how Christian Bale's like doing this one trick where he seems to be in two places at once, and it turns out Christian Bale has like a magic duplicating machine that like he keeps duplicating his clone. That, or it's Hugh Jackman has a clone or a twin brother, and that's
this question. Is The Prestige hard to understand? Besides the fact that the film is fun and interesting to watch, to understand this story completely, you must watch this film again and again.
What a hallmark of a good movie.
Yeah. I'm still unclear what happened at the end of Oppenheimer, but oh wait.
Couldn't have said Inception.
Yeah, if you thought I was going to talk about Inception, you'd be dreaming.
Did you see Inception?
Yes, but I just made a bad.
I know. I'm just trying.
I actually did see Inception. I had no idea what the F happened at the end.
The top
JGL.
The top. I mean, it's left to interpretation.
Which is my most disliked cop-out by creative types.
Absolutely.
What is this song about? This song is about anything you want it to be about.
I hate
you.
See, on the opposite end of that spectrum, I just saw a movie last night or the night before called I Saw the TV Glow. And actually it was pretty cool. It's an indie horror flick, but it revolves around this guy and girl that were watching a cult TV show when they were teenagers. And they would show the show in the movie, and it was just like it used the Buffy the Vampire Slayer font for like all the names of people on the screen, and then it was kind of like a weird like twist on The Adventures Pete and Pete meets Buffy. It was the show, and then like anyway, the whole movie goes by, and you're like, oh. The reality we're watching is actually this girl that's in the show in the season 5 finale who's buried and dying, and like this is her hallucination that the world, like this is her accepting her death or whatever. I don't care. But like if you played it straight that way, like it was an interesting concept. So
it's just another dream sequence
kind of, yeah.
They did that in House too, where like a bunch of stuff happened, but like it turned out he'd been hallucinating for like half the season because he was on too much drugs.
Yeah,
like.
But then if you dive deeper, like apparently, like the director was talking about, like, oh yeah, it's a whole trans allegory. I'm like, straight over my head.
Yeah, they lost me with that one.
Yeah, but then when I was reading what the director said, I'm like, yeah, I guess that made sense. He was imagining himself as the girl, but wearing her clothes, and then it was like, okay. I completely that went straight over my head.
Wow. Okay. Well, with that was Deadpool.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool is a trans allegory.
Yep.
Is what Brandon just said.
Yep.
And with that, let's go to Brandon for the Namely 90s Minute.
Welcome back to Namely 90s Minute. Every week we look back at a culturally relevant show, movie, or piece of pop culture that probably helps stoke the algorithm. This week, in honor of Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, we're looking back at one of the first X-Men the Animated Series episodes focused on Wolverine, called Cold Vengeance. Cold Vengeance is the 6th episode of the first season of X-Men the Animated Series. The story starts with James Marsden and Famke Janssen looking at Hugh Jackman's empty room and Famke blaming herself for Hugh leaving the X-Mansion. Cut to Hugh Jackman in northern Canada and falling into the Arctic Sea after being bombed by Tyler Mane. Meanwhile, back at the X-Mansion, Channing Tatum tells the team about Genosha, where they're welcoming mutants, and the team goes undercover to check it out. Some Inuits find Hugh Jackman and nurse him back to health, and he proceeds to live out Dances with Wolves, or Dances with Wolverines, for the rest of the episode, until Tyler Mane attacks after a jealous member of the tribe sells out Jackman. Mane destroys the village and kidnaps the people and straps bombs to them. The sellout helps save his people while Jackman and Mane fight each other, with Jackman eventually saving the day and defeating Mane. The story ends with the X-crew on vacation, Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, and Lana Condor, who then get captured in their Genoshan hotel rooms, ending on a cliffhanger. And that's Cold Vengeance from X-Men the Animated Series in a Namely 90s Minute. More or less.
And now, back to the show.
Well, again, in honor of Deadpool and Wolverine taking that quick turn, I thought we would do a BuzzFeed quiz.
BuzzFeed.
Andrew, your soul is deeply aligned with either Deadpool or Wolverine, and only your noodle bowl taste buds can decipher which. You don't have to be unkillable or have an adamantium skeleton to be just like these iconic characters. This is by Crow, who is a community contributor on BuzzFeed. You know how well the quality of quizzes are for those people. So apparently we're going to be making a noodle bowl for ourselves. And so question 1, let's start with some broth. Would you like a soy sauce broth, a miso broth, a sesame broth, or spicy?
I do enjoy sesame. I think I might go with sesame. I don't think sesame broth is a thing.
No. Yeah, you can get sesame oil.
Probably a tonkatsu with a little bit of sesame
oil
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sesame.
I always like the miso broth personally. So I'll go with miso.
Next, noodles. We've got a thin egg noodle, thin rice noodle, an udon, and ramen, which
udon.
I think they're saying like top ramen noodles because that's top ramen.
Yeah.
Whereas the rice and egg noodles are both noodles that you could just use in ramen.
Yes. Well, ramen noodle is its own type of noodle.
Yeah, ramen is made of wheat flour and doesn't contain egg or rice.
Is that true?
I believe that's true.
Yes, and it's an alkaline noodle.
But like, who's putting egg noodles in their noodle soup?
True.
I don't love udon. I think there's too much chew, too much body to that for me.
It's also a hard O.
I do like rice noodles because I do like pho, so I'm gonna go with rice noodles.
Interesting. Let's see. I did miso, so I guess I'll have udon.
I want noodles now.
I have noodles. We can make noodles after this, or we go get noodles after this with Kayla. Kayla, who by the way is just enjoying herself without.
Yeah, so you guys have fun on your little date. I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah, some protein: pork, tofu, beef, or eggs.
Ooh.
How rude.
That all looks bad.
Is it? It's your choice first, right?
I feel like I'm designing a pho, so I feel like the very thinly sliced
beef,
raw beef that they cook in the broth is where I'd go. So I go beef.
Whereas like I have a miso udon. I think pork would go good with that.
Yeah, pork sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Veggie time. Bok choy, carrots, edamame, or peas.
Weird choices.
Is
it my turn?
Think it's your turn.
Yes, sorry. I'm gonna just, since I know you're trying to build a good pho bowl, I'm just gonna steal the bok choy.
All right, but I feel like carrots are sort of like pho adjacent with like the topping of a banh mi, Vietnamese as well. The carrot and daikon or cucumber slaw. So I'll go a carrot.
Toppings are the best part. Is this the last one? Nope. We have fish cakes, which, by the way, that's
a crab cake.
That's a crab cake. What they should have is narutomaki, which is the little gelatinous circular thing with the white and pink. Green onions.
Gelatinous.
Mushrooms or nori. You have
green onion.
God damn. I will take the fish cake, assuming it's not a.
There's just a whole crab cake in your ramen.
Which, you know,
I'd eat that.
They're putting crab cakes in Bloody Marys now. Like,
yeah, I think ramen's turning into the Bloody Mary of the noodle world.
Absolutely. Speaking of turning into the Bloody Mary of the noodle world, we have more toppings with 2 exclamation marks. First is chili, which pictured is Thai red chilies.
Yeah.
Garlic, which pictured is
string beans or edamame.
No, it's definitely string beans.
Peas.
They're peas.
Yeah, they look like it looks like an AI generated.
This
they
is
have little like pods, but they're.
I think this is pre-AI generation. This is
okay.
Oh no, this is this year, 2024. Sorry, sesame seeds or peanuts. What?
I don't. There's peanuts in Thai food, but that's Thai food,
right?
Not Vietnamese. Chili.
Just whole chili.
Well, no, like a chili paste, not sriracha, but like that kind of really good chili paste.
Yeah.
You mix it in with the sauce.
The hoisin.
Hoisin, no. Thank you.
Is it hoisin?
Hoisin, yeah.
Is it?
There's you can add it if you want. Yeah.
I guess I'll do garlic. And
then now, how are you eating your bowl?
Racist.
Chopsticks, fork, my hands, or a straw?
A Okay. Well, apparently it's not a hot noodle soup.
I'm just gonna say
it's
okay if we both say chopsticks.
Yeah,
that's just the right way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And who are you eating with? I'm alone, my partner, my family, or Spider-Man?
Probably my partner.
I guess I'm alone.
Oh my gosh, there's another one.
How are there more questions?
Finally, how about dessert? Candy, cookie, pie, or ice cream?
After eating that, I think I would like a cookie as much as I would pick pie.
I'm gonna go with pie because you know how I am.
Oh, there was none, thanks.
Oh, none, thanks. Sorry, I missed that. I'm going pie.
I didn't get an answer.
How?
Did you get an answer?
Yes, I did.
Did I not click on one of them? Oh, I didn't click on more toppings. Still didn't get an answer. Did I not click on a lot of these?
Well, why don't you do that? I'll read mine.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I got it.
You are Wolverine.
Oh, really?
You have a strong sense of morality and justice and are willing to do what's necessary to get the right outcome. You're a bit hot-headed and find it hard to move on, whether it's from grudges or crushes. You tend to be a loner, but can form strong bonds with those with values similar to yours. That you aren't always the most emotionally aware. You do anything for the people you love and have a spine of steel.
Ooh. Well, as often as we do when we do these partner Buzzfeed quizzes, I got Deadpool.
Nice.
Yeah. You're a sarcastic jokester and can find humor in any scenario, dark or light. It's your way of coping with the world. This is dark. You're extremely brave and often jump into things headfirst without considering the consequences. Not true at all. But when you get knocked down, you always find a way to get back up. You have a lot of love for others and tend to primarily fall for people's personalities.
You do a chumbawamba every time.
I get knocked down and I get back up again. I take a whiskey drink.
We are Wolverine and Deadpool.
Take a vodka drink. Yeah, there you have it. Has this convinced you to go see Deadpool and Wolverine?
Absolutely not.
Has this convinced you to stream Deadpool and Wolverine when it comes to Disney Plus?
I feel like the problem is like the overly cheeky writing for Ryan Reynolds gets a little bit like exhausting after a while.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. The first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Has this
take something seriously, you monster.
Yeah, how dare you bring joy and entertainment to people? Any final thoughts for Deadpool?
I mean, I think if that's the sort of thing you like, you should go see it.
Cool.
I probably won't because I just don't see movies anymore. And plus Twisters. We need to see Colin Powell and that one girl. Glenn Powell.
You know what I heard? You should see Twisters in 4D in one of those 4D boxes.
Yeah.
So like, because you get your money's worth.
The box just spins.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Namely 90s in person.
Yay!
Remember, you can find new episodes out every Monday. Find us on Instagram, Bluesky, and YouTube at Namely 90s with 90s, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, to bring you more content like this. Finally, you can also contact us through our website, namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us and stop sending us porn spam. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Deadpool, Podcast, CastBox, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and we'll catch you next time.
Porn games.